everyone, this is Mr. Lamb here. Just going to go over the guess and check method for those of you who need a quick review on it. But before we go in the guess and check method, we need to refresh our memory on multiplying binomials. So if we have two binomials here, 3x plus 4 times 4x minus 1, and we FOIL those out, FOIL just meaning multiply these, we would multiply the 3x times the 4x, which is 12x squared. Then we would multiply the 3x times the negative 1, which is negative 3x. And then the positive 4 times the 4x, which would be plus 16x. And then lastly, the positive 4 times the negative 1, which would be negative 4. Then to simplify this further, we look at our like terms, which are right here in the middle. We can combine those like terms, and we would get in our final answer 12x squared. Negative 3x plus 16x is plus 13x minus 4, and this would be our final answer. Now, one thing I want you to notice is, if you notice the red number right here is always this number times this number, and the blue number at the end always is this number times this number. And then you're just trying to figure out this middle number here when we factor. So let's practice factoring using the guess and check method. So the first thing we want to do is we want to list out the factors of 3x squared. So I'll do 3 times 1, and there's no other factors of 3, so I'll just leave it at that. And what are the factors of 6? Well, I know it's positive 6, so it's 1 times 6 or 3 times 2. Now, we know there's going to be two binomials here, and the first terms in each binomial are going to be the 3 and the 1. So, we're going to put a 3x here and a 1x right here. Then the next step is we choose between either this factor or this factor to go in the other two spots right here. Now, because we have a positive middle number and a positive last number, we know the two numbers are going to be positive. So the one condition that you must remember is that you cannot place any number here that you can take a GCF out with the 3. So for example, if I put a 6 here, that is not allowed because 3 and a 6 have a common factor, which is 3. So you can't put a 6 there. So the only one I would be able to put there is the 1, which means the 6 would go here. Now, when you look at these, I draw these two arcs here. 1 times x is 1x, and 3x times 6 is 18x. Now the question is with these two numbers, 1x, these two terms, 1x and 18x, is there any way that I can get positive 11x? Is there any way I could get positive 11x with those two numbers? And the answer is no. So actually, the 1 and the 6 will not work in here. So what I do is I erase that, and let's try a new number. Let's try the 3 and the 2. That's our only other option. Well, I know a 3 cannot go in here because there's already a 3 there, and you can take a 3 out of that binomial. So it must be a 2 here and a 3 here. Now, when I do 2 times x, that's 2x. When I do 3x times 3, that's a 9x. Is there any way I can make 11x with that 2x and 9x? Absolutely, if they're both positive. So I go plus, plus, and this would be my final answer. A good way to check this to see if you're correct is if you multiply this, it's 3x squared. Multiply this, just FOIL it out, plus 9x. Multiply 2 times x is another 2x. And 2 times positive 3 is plus 6. Combine these like terms together, you get 3x squared plus 11x plus 6. Does that match our original answer? Yes, it does. So that is correct. Alright, so now to go to the second problem. What I like to do, again, I forgot to do this in the first problem, is always check to see if there's a GCF that you can take out. And it doesn't look like there's any other GCF you can take out besides 1. So then let's just list our factors. For 2 is 2 and 1. And the factors of 20, there's a lot. 1 times 20, 2 times 10, 4 times 5. And I think that is about it. So now we're going to draw our two binomials, and we're going to put the 2x and the 1x in the first spots. Now the next step is to choose one of these. Now I don't think it's going to be 1 times 20. Now maybe it is, but I'm going to guess maybe it's either 2 and 10 or 4 and 5. So let's just try 4 and 5. That seems like a one that it could be. Now if I use 4 and 5, I can't put 4 here because the 4 and 2 have a 2 in common. So the only thing that could go there is a 5, and that means the other one's a 4. And so let's multiply these. 5x and 2x and 4 is 8x. Now the thing is I know that one of these terms has to be negative because I'm getting a negative 20, right? And the only way to get a negative 20 when you multiply numbers is if one is positive and one is negative. Now I got a 5x and an 8x, and my goal is to get this negative 3x right here. Now is there any way that I can get negative 3x with 5x and 8x? Actually, there is. If 8x is negative right here, 5x plus negative 8x is negative 3x, which means this needs to be negatives. 2x times negative 4 is negative 8x, and 5 is positive. So there's my final answer right there. Alright, moving on to number 3. Let's take a look at this one. Alright, so it's going to get gradually harder as we go, but let's look to see if there's any GCFs between these three terms. There's no number that goes into all three, so let's just list out the factors. 6 and 1, 3 and 2, and then the 9 is either 9 and 1 or 3 and 3. So I'm going to make my two binomials here, and let's just use, I'm going to use the 3 and the 2. So I'm going to put 3x and 2x, and then I'm going to try to use the 3 and the 3. Well, if I put a 3 here, I can't put a 3 here because the 3x and the 3 have a 3 in common, which means it's a 3 and a 3, so I can't use that one. So that one definitely doesn't work. So how about the 9 and the 1? Well, I can't put the 9 here because you can bring out a 3. So I'm going to put a 1 there and a 9 there. And let's kind of see if our arcs can get us to positive 25x. So that's 2x, and that's 27x. And my goal is to get us to 25x, positive 25x. I know one of these has to be negative because this is a negative 9, so I think I can get to positive 25x if this 2x is negative. So how do I make this? So I have negative 2x plus 27x is equal to 25x, which checks. So how do I make this a negative 2x? I would put a negative there, a positive there, and ladies and gentlemen, there is my answer. Alright, going on with number 4. We're getting pretty tough here. So let's look if there's a GCF. First step is GCF. There is no GCF. So let's just list the factors of 12. 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4, and 70. 1 times 7, 7 times 10, and I think that's it. It's not much more unless I'm missing one. So then these numbers are quite large. So let's not go 1 and 12. Let's pick the, I like the 3 and the 4. Let's go the 3 and the 4. So we go 3x and 4x. And then 1 and 70, probably not. I'm going to do the 7 and the 10. So the 10 can't go here because the 4 and the 10 have a 2 in common. So a 7 must go here. And a 10 must go here. So if I were to go like this, I would get 40x. And if I were to go like this, I would get 21x. Now the question is can I get 61x here? I can get 61x if they are both positive, which makes sense because the sum is positive and the product is positive. So these would both be plus, and we have our answer right there. Alright guys, and the last one we're going to do here is number 5. Alright, so first thing we do is see if there's a GCF. Oh, I actually think there is a GCF of 10, 68, and 48, a 2. So let's take out a 2, and then we get 5x squared minus 34x plus 24. Again, this is this reverse distribution, right? Taking the GCF out. If I multiply, distribute that 2 to everything, it's going to get me this up here. So now what we're going to do is we are going to factor this portion. We are not going to worry about all this right here because we took a 2 out, but we're going to worry about what's in the parentheses. So different ways I can get 5x squared is 5 and 1. The different ways I can get 24 are 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 4 and 6, and 3 and 8. Alright, so let's write our two binomials here. I got 5x and 1x. Now, what numbers could I try? Let's just try 2 and 12. See if that works. Okay, so if I put a 2 here and a 12 here, I get 2x, and 5 times 12 is 60x. Well, I know that my goal is negative 34x. And there is no way with these two numbers that I can get a negative 34x. You'll notice the product is positive 24 and the sum is negative 34, which means both numbers are going to have to be negative, because if you multiply two negatives, you get a positive, and if you add two negatives, you get a negative. So it's definitely not these two. However, is it possible that this could be 12 and this could be 2? Well, that would give us 12x, and that would give us 10x. That will still not get us negative 34x. So we can completely eliminate the 12 and the 2. How about the 4 and the 6? Let's try the 4 here and the 6 here. Well, we get 4x here and we get 30x here. Hey, I could definitely get negative 34x if they were both negative, which is what I want. So I go minus, minus. Now the last thing you have to do is you have to bring this 2 down in front, and this is your final answer. Alright everyone, well hopefully that made more sense, but again it's just listing out factors and going through the process of guessing and checking numbers, seeing if they work or not. Thanks, and hopefully this was helpful. Bye bye.